In 1590, the governor of America's first English colony returned home to find 115 people had completely vanished, leaving behind only one carved word, CROATOAN. 430 years later, we still don't have a definitive answer. Until now. In this episode of Hidden America TV, we uncover the full story of the Lost Colony of Roanoke, including the shocking new 2026 archaeological discoveries that bring us closer than ever to the truth. What you'll discover, who the 115 colonists really were, and why they were doomed from the start. The one carved word that has haunted historians for 4 centuries. Every major theory massacred, scattered, or absorbed. Brand new 2026 DNA and archaeological evidence just uncovered. Why the governor abandoned his own family for 3 years. The infant born in the New World who vanished without a trace. What Captain John Smith heard at Jamestown that changed everything. August 18, 1590. Governor John White steps off a ship onto the shore of Roanoke Island off the coast of what is now North Carolina. He has been gone for 3 years. 3 agonizing years, away from his wife, his daughter, and his granddaughter. His granddaughter, Virginia Dare, was the first English child ever born in the Americas. He steps ashore expecting to be reunited with his family, with the 115 colonists he left behind. Instead, he finds silence. The buildings are empty. The fort is dismantled. The settlers' belongings gone. No bodies. No signs of violence. No fire. No blood. 115 men, women, and children vanished. The only clue, 3 letters carved into a wooden post. CRO, and on a nearby tree, one full word. CROATOAN. That word, carved into wood nearly 440 years ago, is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history. And in 2026, we may finally be getting answers. This is Hidden America TV. Let's find out what really happened to the Lost Colony of Roanoke. To understand what happened to those 115 people, you need to understand why they were there at all and how catastrophically unprepared they were from the very beginning. It's 1587. England is in a race with Spain to claim the New World. Sir Walter Raleigh, the flamboyant favorite of Queen Elizabeth I, is given a charter to establish England's first permanent colony. In the Americas, he sends an expedition to Roanoke Island, a barrier island off the coast of present-day North Carolina. Now here's the first red flag. This was not England's first attempt at Roanoke. A year earlier, in 1586, a group of soldiers had tried to establish a military outpost on the island. They lasted less than a year before nearly starving to death and abandoning the colony in desperation. Despite this, Raleigh sends 115 civilians, families, women, children, to the exact same island with 1 year's worth of supplies. The colony's governor, John White, was an artist and cartographer, not a military man, not a survivalist. They arrived in late July 1587. Hurricane season, on an island with limited fresh water, surrounded by indigenous tribes they had already managed to antagonize during the failed military expedition a year before. They were doomed before they unpacked. But something remarkable happened first. On August 18, 1587, just weeks after landing, John White's daughter, Eleanor, gave birth. A girl named Virginia Dare, the first English child born in the Americas. A moment of extraordinary hope in the middle of a desperate situation. But that hope was about to collide with an impossible decision. Within weeks of Virginia Dare's birth, the colony was already running dangerously low on essential supplies. The colonists made a decision. John White, as governor, would sail back to England to personally request emergency resupply ships from Sir Walter Raleigh. White didn't want to go. His family was here. His newborn granddaughter was here. But the colonists persuaded him. He was the most connected person among them. He had direct access to Raleigh to the Queen's court. He was the only one who could make it happen fast enough. Before leaving, they made an agreement. If the colonists needed to relocate, they would carve the name of their new location into a tree or post. If they left in an emergency, in fear or danger, they would carve a cross above the name. White sailed for England in late 1587. He fully expected to return within months. Instead, the world intervened. White arrived in England just as the most famous naval confrontation in history was taking shape. The Spanish Armada, the greatest fleet ever assembled, was preparing to invade England. Queen Elizabeth I commanded every available ship for the defense of England. Every ship, including the resupply ships meant for Roanoke. White was stranded in England, unable to return, unable to send help. He watched an entire year pass, then another. He finally secured passage back to Roanoke in 1590, 3 full years after he had left. And when his ship arrived on that August evening, he found nothing, just silence and that single carved word. Let's talk about what John White actually found, because the details matter enormously. The buildings of the colony had not been burned. They had been deliberately dismantled. Every structure taken apart methodically, as if the colonists were preparing to move somewhere. The heavy iron cannons, far too heavy to carry far, had been buried, hidden, deliberately concealed. This tells us something critical. Whatever happened to these 115 people? It was not a sudden massacre. It was not a storm. It was not a panic. They had time to plan. They packed they dismantled. They buried. Then they left voluntarily. The absence of a cross carved above the word CROATOAN was equally significant. Remember the agreement. A cross meant danger. There was no cross. John White himself believed he knew exactly what had happened. He believed the colonists had relocated to CROATOAN Island, roughly 50 miles south, and were living with the CROATOAN people, a native tribe they had maintained generally peaceful relations with. But a storm prevented his ship from sailing south. To confirm it, he was forced to return to England. He never went back. He never found his daughter. He never found his granddaughter, Virginia Dare. He died in Ireland around 1593, never knowing what happened to his family. In the 4 centuries since John White walked away, historians and archaeologists have proposed several major theories about what happened. Let's go through each one. Theory 1, massacre. Some historians believe the colonists were killed, either by a rival Spanish expedition or by the Powhatan Confederacy to the north, which was a large and powerful native alliance. When English settlers established Jamestown in 1607, Captain John Smith recorded stories from indigenous people about English settlers who had been living peacefully among a tribe to the south and were then killed on the orders of the Powhatan chief Wahunsenok, who feared an alliance that might threaten his power. If true, the colonists may have survived for nearly 20 years before being killed long after White had given up searching. Theory 2, assimilation. The most widely supported theory today is that the colonists integrated with the CROATOAN tribe on what is now Hatteras Island. They learned to survive using indigenous knowledge. They intermarried. Their children grew up as part of the CROATOAN community. Over generations, they simply became someone else. Theory 3, scattering. More recent researchers believe the answer isn't one location, but many. Some colonists may have gone to CROATOAN. Others may have moved inland. Small groups heading in different directions to maximize survival odds. This would explain why evidence of the colony keeps turning up in multiple places, decades apart. Theory 4. Natural disaster. Tree ring data shows that between 1587 and 1589, the exact years the colonists were alone on the island, the region experienced one of its worst droughts. In 800 years, crops would have failed, fresh water would have disappeared, starvation would have been certain. The drought alone may have forced the colonists to abandon Roanoke Island and seek help elsewhere. None of these theories are mutually exclusive. The truth may be a combination of all four. For centuries, the lost colony seemed destined to remain unsolved. Then came 2026. In May 2025, archaeologists made a significant discovery. On Hatteras Island, formerly known as CROATOAN Island, they unearthed two separate piles of iron flakes, known as hammer scale, the direct byproduct of blacksmithing. Iron forging was not a skill the CROATOAN tribe practiced, but the English colonists absolutely had this knowledge. What this tells us is that someone on Hatteras Island, at roughly the right time period, was forging iron tools and objects. Kathleen Duval, a history professor at the University of North Carolina, stated it clearly. This evidence backs up the most likely theory that the lost colonists went to Hatteras Island and integrated with the local tribe. But 2026 brought even more. Modern DNA analysis is now being applied to populations in the region, showing possible genetic links to early European settlers. Researchers using ground-penetrating radar and LiDAR technology have also revealed previously invisible settlement patterns on Hatteras Island, showing signs of a larger community than expected. In the exact time frame of the colony's disappearance, the picture emerging from all of this new evidence is striking. The colonists did not all die. They did not vanish into thin air. They made a decision, a very human decision, to survive. They walked 50 miles south to the people who knew this land better than anyone. They asked for help. And the CROATOAN people gave it to them. Over time, they became part of that community. Their grandchildren grew up knowing two worlds. Virginia Dare, America's first English child, likely lived her life among the CROATOAN people, not as a tragedy, as a remarkable story of adaptation and survival that history simply forgot to record. Here's the honest truth about Roanoke. We will probably never have a complete answer. Researchers don't have confirmed remains from any of the 115 colonists. Without those remains, DNA analysis can only suggest, never prove. The archaeological record keeps producing clues, but clues are not conclusions. And yet, there's something powerful about sitting with that uncertainty, because the story of Roanoke isn't really a story about disappearance. It's a story about 115 ordinary people, farmers, artisans, mothers, fathers, children, thrown into an impossible situation through no fault of their own, abandoned by their governor, ignored by their queen, left to face a brutal winter, a catastrophic drought, and a wilderness they had no idea how to survive. And they didn't give up. They made a plan. They dismantled their buildings. They buried their cannons. They carved a word into a tree so that John White would know where to find them. And then they walked south toward the only people in the world who might actually help them. That's not a mystery. That's courage. The lost colony of Roanoke has fascinated Americans for over 400 years, and for good reason. It's the oldest unsolved mystery on American soil. It involves a lost infant who became a legend, a governor who never found his family, and 115 people who trusted a carved word to speak for them across the centuries. New evidence in 2025 and 2026 is bringing us closer to the truth than any generation before us. But whether science ever gives us a definitive answer or not, the story of Roanoke reminds us of something important. History is not made only by generals and presidents. It's made by ordinary people facing impossible circumstances and choosing to survive. That's the hidden history of America, and there is so much more of it waiting to be uncovered. I'm Hidden America TV. Subscribe, hit that bell, and I'll see you in the next hidden story.